In this second of 3 videos on some of the basic math behind epidemics, we briefly discuss slowing the growth and spread of a contagion. Now, at the time I'm making these videos, we're in the early stages of fighting the COVID-19 pandemic. At this point, the exponential growth that we talked about in the first video has taken off and COVID-19 has gone global. Now, of course, we should do whatever we can to minimize the spread and growth of any contagion. But even if we can't significantly reduce the total number of cases that ultimately occur, there are things that we can do to reduce the impact on society and individual people. This is where the idea of social distancing comes into play. To understand one of the underlying principles behind social distancing, it may help to make a figure showing the number of new cases for a contagion over time. We can then graph the number of new cases appearing day to day. As you can see, at first there are hardly any new cases appearing each day. Then it starts to pick up a bit, and then the number of cases starts to grow a little faster before potentially suddenly and dramatically increasing each day. Now, after a while, that daily increase does start to slow down and level off before the number of new cases each day starts to go down, eventually returning to very few or no new cases every day. Now, while that increase and spike in the number of cases can be a problem, there's a more fundamental danger that may be hidden in that curve. And that's the capacity of a healthcare system to deal with all of those new cases appearing each day. Let's say that this line indicates the capacity of our healthcare system to deal with all of these new cases. The day that we cross this threshold is the day that we enter a qualitatively new level of crisis. Who gets the hospital bed if there are not enough beds? Who gets into the ICU if it's already full? Who gets treatment for related, potentially life-threatening consequences of the disease? When healthcare demand exceeds healthcare capacity, not only do more cases go untreated, but even those who are treated receive lower quality care, which leads to poor health outcomes. Everyone loses, and we've made a bad situation worse. No one wants to be in that situation. Not the healthcare provider facing these ugly choices, and certainly not the sick person on the receiving end of their decision. If an epidemic or pandemic is coming, or already here, the key is to find a way to never reach that capacity threshold, even as new cases continue to grow. That's why now, during our current COVID-19 pandemic, we hear so much about social distancing. The idea with social distancing is that by reducing person-to-person contacts, by limiting social gatherings, we can slow the growth of the spread of a contagion so that the peak is lowered and pushed further into the future. As a result, the growth of new cases is spread out over more time. If, through social distancing, we can slow the spread, we can ultimately reduce the peak of the crisis until it's at a point where it is safely within the capacity of the healthcare system. Now, of course, we hope that through social distancing, we can also reduce the actual number of cases. But even if it doesn't, even if we end up with the same number of people getting sick, by spreading it out, we can avoid overwhelming the healthcare system. In that way, those who do get sick receive better care and have better health outcomes. Plus, the extra time provides more opportunity for newer and better treatments to be developed and tested. social distancing helps us to avoid making a bad situation worse. Now, so far we've talked about dealing with an active or potential epidemic that's already underway. What about avoiding them altogether in the future? We look at the math behind that question in our final video that discusses the fascinating concept of herd immunity. Okay? Bye for now.